Hey friends, it's Melissa Morrow with Vintage Bee Design, and last weekend was Memorial Day weekend and also my son's 35th birthday, and I guess I'm feeling a little patriotic with the 4th of July being the next big holiday. So I thought I'd whip out some Americana projects and let me know how you like them. Each of today's projects was Pinterest inspired, and I'll be using DIY paint in the colors White Swan, Hey Sailor, and Carnival Red. This project was made from scrap wood that we had in our workshop, and I think it came out pretty close. So I've gone ahead and given these 2 coats of the DIY paint White Swan, and now the biggest tip I can give you on this, I think, is that after doing the white coats, I am sealing this with a single coat of DIY Paints Liquid Patina. And that is the Crystal Clear Chandelier Liquid Patina. It is 100% clear. But the thing is with DIY paint is that it is clay-based. And that means that it will reactivate when wet. So when I go to paint these lower sections and paint in the blue and the stripes and the stencil, and then distress it, what'll end up happening is the wet blue paint and the wet red paint will actually reactivate the white paint and it will start blending. And I don't want that to happen. So the best thing for me to do is to go ahead and seal the white so that it is no longer reactivated with liquid, and then paint those sections. The next step in this process is to go ahead and with a small liner brush, I am going to use DIY Paints Hey Sailor and do this on opposing sides. Because this center block is actually made out of 3 2x4s, it's easy to tell that I want the side where it is flat, not where they're stacked. Where they're stacked and you can see the 2 lines, I'm going to use that as a reference for the stripes in the red and white. So yeah, I'm going to do both sides of this in the Hey Sailor. And because I'm happy with the coverage, knowing I'm going to distress and wax these, I'm only going to do 1 coat. I have added some masking tape. This is about probably about 3/4 of an inch to an inch masking tape, and I basically have taped off the center board of the 3 2x4s that make up this center piece. And I am going to go ahead and use Carnival Red and paint this. In this case, I actually do 2 coats, and I probably should have put down a layer of sealer first, like the DIY Liquid Patina, to keep it from bleeding under the tape, but I didn't really think of that at the time. And just like I did on the white, I'm going to go ahead and put a top coat on both the blue and the red areas here. I don't really need to do it on the red as much right now, but on the blue, I'm going to be stenciling, and the same thing. I don't want any bleed through. To do the stenciling, I am using JRV stencils in 4th of July stencil pack. There are 4 stencils in there. And to find a local retailer near you, I suggest you go to JamieRayVintage.com. I am choosing to do the 1776 Surrounded by Stars on one side of the blue, and on the other side, I will do just sort of a bank of stars. Both of those stencils are in this pack. Taking this out into my workshop, I am going to go with 220 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander and just sort of sand all of these areas. Everything has had a top coat, and that's going to keep it from getting too muddy, but understand I'm not overly worried about this. We are going to clear wax this and then dark wax this. I just am looking for some nice distressing. I have an old t-shirt that I use for waxing. I have DIY's clear wax, and I'm going to give everything a nice coat of clear wax. Because I don't want this to be super dark and rustic, I'm adding clear wax first, and that will absorb into the wood. That way when I add the dark wax, it'll be easier to control. If you want a really dark and rustic look on this project, then you do not need to add the clear wax first. I just like to have a little more control over my wax. No need to let the clear wax dry first or settle in. You can go ahead and go right at it with the dark wax. Adding the clear wax first means you have the ability to layer in dark wax or use clear wax to remove anything that seems like too much. So choice is yours on how much you add. Again, I only add the clear wax to have control of the dark wax. But if you like that grungy look, then no need to add the clear wax. Now I picked these flags up at a discount store, and they are like that slick poly and very bright. To tone them down so they work better with this piece, I'm going to go ahead and add DIY paints, dark wax, and that is really going to make them blend in better. But here you see, this is where I say I want to control a little more. So that flag is getting a little too dark, and I'm able to use the clear wax to rub just a little bit off. And you can really see the difference in the flag that I've added the wax to versus the bright one on the table next to it. And so here is a look at the finished product. I'm very happy with how it came out. It reminds me of the porches in the South, or the ones you see in the magazines that have the flags hanging from the front porch. Anyway, that's sort of my nostalgia thought for this. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Have you become a member of Whatnot yet? Whatnot is an online auction site, kind of like eBay, only auctions happen in seconds instead of days or weeks. We have a store there, and we do auctions about 3 to 4 times a week. And we have a buy it now section where you can actually purchase items even when the shows aren't going. Many of your favorite YouTubers actually have shows there also. So if you haven't already joined, I'll leave a link in the description below. We hope you come check us out. This next project was extremely easy. I happen to have this spring piece that I've had for a couple years. It has been in our booth up very high, and no one has purchased it, probably because of where it was located. But again, I'm working on Americana things right now, so I've decided to go ahead and take it apart. And the first thing to do is all of those florals are stapled in place. So I've got my wire cutters, and I am just going to start working on cutting off these flowers and then pulling out the staples. It really was easy peasy once I figured out a system, which was basically just rolling the greenery, and the staples came right out. So this took me about 5 minutes after I figured out the method. On the right, you can see my inspiration image, and I happen to have 2 of these Americana scarves, so I thought I would dedicate one to this purpose. And basically I'm just draping it over and then looking at how I want it to gather on the side. I also happen to have some pip berries that were in Americana colors, and I decided to use that to tie it on. And so nothing is attached permanently. I just have the pip berries basically wrapped around that section and then wrapped up behind. And that's the whole thing. Again, this is not permanent, so if I want to do something with it again later, I certainly can. This was a quick and easy project from stuff I already had here, so absolutely no money spent on it. What do you think? Is it going to look cute by the front door come the 4th of July? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And here's a quick reminder that you can follow us on all social media at Vintage Bee Design, and we have a community in Facebook called Creating the Hive, or Creative Con Vintage Bee, and a new coaching group. Membership is only $20 a month. There's lots of discounts. Links are in the description below. Let's get back to crafting. And when we're celebrating holidays, we always need something to put on a side table, coffee table, something like that. And books are almost always the perfect size. So I pulled 3 books out of my stash that are kind of more modern books that I'm not going to turn into anything fun or exciting, and painted them mostly with DIY paint and the color White Swan. And then I've taken some packing paper that we had around here from Package that we're not using, and I've gone ahead and painted the inside of it. Now you could absolutely use liquid patina for this, which probably would have been a smarter solution, but I wanted to show you that in a pinch you actually can, if you are just working on something this small, use the paint that you're currently using to glue that paper to your book. It works like a champ. It would have worked better if I hadn't been holding my phone at the time, because that was where the struggle was, but it will stick to what you need to do. You're just going to do it basically just like decoupage paper this is a very expensive way to do it if you're doing anything big, but just this little tiny bit on the side of these books is no problem at all. On the top book, I actually went ahead and added the paper to not only the side, which covered up the lettering on the side, but also to the top. And I've added 3 stripes of that paint that I used earlier. And you can see it's got a little bit of a wrinkly texture and it's a little bit torn on the bottom. And now I'm adding the carnival red with a stencil brush because I learned my lesson from last time and decided I needed to be a little lighter on the paint to have a little less bleed through. This is the finished product, and I'm sorry I missed filming some of this. The darkened edge on the bottom is actually just using the Adobe House stamping ink from Redesign with Prima, and then I used a marker, Sharpies, for the words on the side. I think this came out real fun. I have been painting all day. My husband is at karate today doing a bunch of stuff, and that gave me the perfect opportunity to spend some quality time with my paintbrushes. And I know I haven't been doing a lot of DIY lately, and I do apologize for that. So be sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment because I love to hear from you guys to let me know that you want me to continue doing the DIY videos. They're hard to get to, and I really enjoy doing them for you guys. Otherwise, I can paint without a video camera on. Let me know if you want me to keep making them by giving me some, internet love, if you will. Thanks so much, guys. See you again soon.